Hello, everybody. We are back with our first speaker of today. It's a pleasure for me to present you Anemari Fiser, who is product director at Codop. Anemari is an expert in the tech industry. She has been for more than 8 years as a software engineer, consultant, tech lead, and currently leading the education team at Codop. She decided to quit the tech lead role and start her own business as a coach and mentor. As a woman in tech, growing diversity in the industry was always been one of her interests. By knowing with different organizations in Barcelona, she has mentored, trained, and coached people from underrepresented groups in tech on different topics and helped to create safe spaces for women to feel empowered to take the stage of public speaking. She used her experience and skills to support others in their tech careers so they can do it better, faster, and not get burned out, making the tech industry an even better place to be. Aligned with FemHack's goals, Anemari contributes to creating opportunities for more women to get into tech. Hello, Anemari. Thank you very much for being here today with us as a speaker of the International FemHack. How are you? It's all up to you right now.
Hello. Nice to see you again, and nice to meet everyone and see everyone here. First of all, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm definitely on the same page with your values and what you're trying to do here. And I'm happy to be part of this event. I have a presentation. I'm going to share my screen in a couple of seconds. Let's see if this works.
Yeah,
Okay, can you see
I
my
confirm
screen?
it works. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So let's, before I start, I just want to say that, as Noelia mentioned, as a woman in tech, bridging the gender gap in this industry was always something that I strive for, right? And this is why I recently joined CodeUp, which is an international tech school that is providing a safe space for women, transgender, and non-binary people to learn tech skills. And before I go into the tips and the exactly on how to land your first job in tech, I want to start by explaining the reality of the tech industry today. Being in this industry for more than 8 years now in all of these different roles and doing all of these activities like coding, leading, mentoring, coaching, and for this past year, actually coaching people to the process of getting a job, I can say that I've been in all these different sides of the process of getting a job in tech. I interviewed people, I was interviewed as a candidate myself, and I also, like I said, coach people through to this process as my first focus in this past year. And one thing that I learned, and one thing that I keep on seeing, is that the tech industry changed. It's not the same the same tech industry that I got into. So it changed a lot, and it changes every single day. We live in the tech world today, which is a fast tech world. Like, you see startups everywhere. A lot of people are trying to solve problems with tech, different problems with like limited time and limited resources. And this means that the demand of tech roles it's higher and higher every day. There's a lot of people transitioning into tech, so basically is the place to be today in this industry, and everybody's trying to get into it. So that's why we're talking today about this topic. So in order for companies to keep track and keep up with this need of hiring people more and more, the process has changed. The process for applying for a job and for getting a job in tech, it changed, and it keeps on changing every day because, again, things move faster. For example, startups, now it's so easy to just have a chat with the CEO or the CTO, and you kind of just from that you can get a job if you prove your value and your skills in that call. That's all it requires for you to get the job. So as you know, the old hiring process, or the classic hiring process, in which, from the company's perspective, requires posting job descriptions everywhere, waiting for people to apply, reviewing lots of CVs, long processes, a lot of number of interviews. was a process, a very long process, which required too many people and roles involved, which made it a very expensive process. Bringing that from the candidate perspective, in which applying for jobs and waiting to be called, like thousands of jobs, and kind of keeping track of that and just staying in the back and waiting for someone to reach out. Very long processes and having to talk with so many people and prepare and say the same thing over and over again made it also from the candidate perspective a very long and exhausting process, which drives a lot of candidates in the day-to-day to just take the first offer that they get, which means this required the companies to change their process so they can actually not lose people in the process for other companies because they just move too slow, right? So regardless of how good the candidate is or not, they basically lose them on the way because they don't move fast enough. So a lot of companies that I'm talking with today, they all have a strategy of reducing the hiring process time. They all are trying to do this because they know that it's key in order to grow your business and to scale and to find people. That means they have to up their game, right? They have to do things faster and better and more efficient and put more effort into people. So this brings me to the idea that the old process, as you see, of getting a job in tech, or in my opinion, getting a job in general, is dying, right? So there's a new way of doing things, and that's the thing that we're going to talk about it today, about how to land your first job in tech, in the day-to-day, and in the world we are living in today. And the secret is networking. Yes, it's people basically, right? We're going back to the basics. And even if we're talking about technology and like a lot of cool tools, it's still people that makes things go faster, talking one-on-one and having that relationship and standing out in the crowd. It's what makes you get the job. So it's networking. Now, how to properly do the networking? Basically, in order to start actually network, you have to make yourself available, right? They have to find you. The companies, it needs to be easy for them to find you, the same way as you have to find them, right? There's a lot of tools out there and platforms where you can look for jobs, and there's a lot of people out there that are very visible in regards to hiring process. But basically, everything, all of this process, it's the point of it is for you to get into a conversation, and for them the same, to have that chat and talk about your skills and get basically making a decision on hiring you. So what do you need in order to start this networking process? Before you even kind of start reaching out to people, you need some three things. In this case, as a developer, right? You need your LinkedIn profile. It needs to expose your current status, like what you're interested in, what your background is, what you already learned. So I'm starting with a LinkedIn profile because I believe that it's so easy to just kind of go and look someone up on LinkedIn, right? It doesn't require any extra steps, which, for example, sharing a CV does. Sharing a CV requires you to have their email or uploading to a system or stuff like that. And the more steps it takes, the more the less chances for you to get into a conversation there are, right? So your LinkedIn profile should be the first thing that you should put effort into, like for people to see quickly, just scan through and see if it's worth having a conversation. And then the same information should be in sync with your CV, because we still require at this point a CV in order to go to the hiring process. So yes, it's basically once you put this information on LinkedIn profile, you can duplicate it in your CV. And last but not least, having a portfolio. As a developer, proving your work, it's mandatory, right? Like proving your learning and how you're growing and developing your coding skills. It's a must. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a website with like 3 projects and they all like deployed and they can be online accessible. It can be as simple as making your GitHub profile visible, right? And your code public. for people to see your code, and they can see what you're learning and what you're building and what you are interested in. So how, now that you have these tools, right, and you have them ready to go and everyone can see them and you can easily pass CVs around, you can start building your network so you can actually use them in your advantage. How do you build your network and how do you meet people? Where there are so many ways, mostly in the world today in which we're living, in this remote work, you have access to so many people, and there's so many opportunities for you to meet people. Like, for example, this event and hackathons, like just joining, that's a very great way to also prove your technical skills, get reach to people, like the hackathon that has been happening this week. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to build that network, to reach out to people, to prove what you're capable of, and get the job. Second, it's communities. Join communities that with people that are interested in the same thing you are interested in. Every company or event or group these days is trying to build a community because, again, it's about people. And as a woman in tech, one trick that I want to tell you here is about joining communities that are focused on supporting underrepresented groups in tech. There is a tendency for women and for underrepresented groups to kind of be more helpful between each other, right? Because they've been there before, because they would have they got this help before, or they would have liked for someone to kind of jump in when they started out. There's a lot of support in these communities for you to get. So kind of reach out to people and be part of the communities. It's really easy to find them, and it's really easy to sign up. Usually there's always a Slack channel or Discord channel or something like that. So this is something you can do, the same as I mentioned with the events, or LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. They're putting so much money these days in order to making the platform to be for getting a job. So get in there, make your profile, and then use it in your advantage, following people, companies, engaging with recruiters, and talking with people, basically. Now, all of these communities and all of these platforms, they don't help you much if you don't engage, right? You cannot just expect people to see you because you're there. You have to reach out and you have to go to the next level about like putting effort, making yourself visible, and basically engaging with people, right? Like you have to make this extra step. Um, so for example, I don't know, if you are on a Slack community, you cannot just be there and kind of happy waiting for people to reach out to you for jobs. If you see someone posting a job description, reach out to them and ask them, hey, I'm interested in this. How can I apply? Like, is there a referral process? There usually a very, like, each company has their own referral process in which you can like the people referring you, they get a bonus, right, if you get hired. So it's in their interest to help you get there. And also the referral process makes your process faster. Imagine this recruiter that has to look at 10,000 CV and make a decision on who to talk to, and then you have someone from the company that comes in and gives you the CV and say, hey, I trust this person to kind of please talk to them. Like, you'll skip a step, basically, right? And you'll have the chance to talk with this person and make your case. So engage, be visible. That means taking this to the next step, right? It's not just engaging with others' content. It's about you creating content and you putting your work out there. So, for example, in regards to LinkedIn or communities or whatever, just make your status and your interest clear. I just finished a bootcamp. I'm interested in my first role in tech. I would like this. I would like that. I'm passionate about this. Like I've seen so many people like just getting the job because they were willing to put themselves out there, and they kind of got a lot of reach, and people empathize with their story. And that's what, again, drives back to the message, which is we are people, and that's what brings us together. So be visible in there. Coming back to your portfolio, show your code, show what you can do, show your work. Of course, code, you keep on growing every day. So the code you wrote yesterday, it's already legacy code. You don't like it, you know you can do better, and it's fine. What people are looking for when they're looking at your portfolio, it's growth, right? It's potential. It's seeing that you keep on growing and developing. It's not seeing the best code possible in the case of a developer. So be visible and make the best out of these communities. Of course, there is still the way of applying for jobs, and it's still gonna be here for a while, I believe, in which you kind of go on LinkedIn, you find, or on other platforms, and you find the job description you are interested in, and you apply for that job, and you go through all the process, and you fill in all the boxes. So if you're doing that, just take that to the next level and connect with people. Now, one trick that I want to say here, and this is because unfortunately I've seen this with women and underrepresented groups more than with men, is that we often don't apply for job if we don't have like an 80% match on the job description, and that's a shame because that reduces our opportunities a lot in the day to day. Like there's so much fluff in the job description because people just go and dump in there everything they would like or you would have to learn. So if you have, I would say 40%, let's say, I would say even less match on a job description, just go and apply. At the end of the day, they have to do their work in vetting you out, right? Like let them make the decision. Don't remove yourself from the process before you even have a chance, right? So apply for any job that you find interesting and let them reach out. There's a lot of time when they reach out and they say, hey, look, we don't think you're a fit for this position, but we have this other thing which we didn't have the time to post it yet, and we'd like you to see if you're interested. So if you like a company, if you like values, if you like the project, whatever, and if you think you're a fit and you know the technology they are using, please just go ahead and apply. The worst that can happen is they don't come back, which takes you back to the moment where you are now. So as I said, taking this to the next level, even if you're doing the classic process, it's about connecting, right? So for example, when you apply for a job, you just send a message to the recruiter that they are in that job position. Just go reach out to them and say, hey, I applied to this job and I'm interested because of this and that. Make it clear, make it easy for them to see your intention and to see your value and kind of reach out to you. Don't post a 3-hour message in there with everything that they can read in your profile. Just make them curious about you. And always send this extra this message, right? You can create a template, you can still reuse it, make it specific for the company you're applying for. It's such an easy thing to do, and so many people don't do it. And most of the time when I tell people to do this, they just tell me, well, they will be pissed that I reached out. They will remember me and they will be gonna be angry. Trust me, people are so trapped in their things that they will not gonna be worried about, oh, this person wrote to me at this point and they are annoying. No, like the worst that can happen is they don't come back to you again, which brings you back to the point where you are. So yes, take this extra step even if you're doing the classic process, because in the end, these tricks and these tools and this networking is what's gonna get you the conversation. It's what's gonna get you in the interview. And now we're gonna talk about what to do once you're in there. Once you have this chat with anyone, just any conversation you have, treat it as an interview. Be always prepared for the things that I will mention next. It's never a informal conversation when it comes to interviews. So always be prepared to pitch yourself. Now, the trick here, once you are in the conversation, is to stand out. I mean, the same thing applies even before, but here it's even more, right? So you have, imagine this person talks with so many people, and it's about you standing out, right? The skills, when people are just getting into the industry, they are more or less the same, right? You have the same base, you have some projects, but standing out and being very clear about why are you a fit for this position, why you're interested. This is the thing, connecting with the person in front of you. Is what is gonna make their life easier to choose you. Because basically what you have to answer in these interviews or in this conversation from their perspective is why us. You always have to make it clear, why did you choose this? Why are you interested in this specific job description? Why you for this position, and why you and us, right? Why should you put they should put you together? Sorry for the noise. So these are the three questions that you have to answer in the interview, and this is what's gonna get you the job. And it's a small steps, but like that's what's gonna get you there. So how do you make sure, sorry, that you're answering this question? You prepare, and there's so many ways to prepare for an interview. It's a skill. Interviewing, it's a skill in the day to day, and you can find out how to make it happen for you. First thing, research. Research the company, research the people you're gonna be talking to, research their value, research their interest. Do your research before you go into a conversation on who you're gonna talk to and what you should tell them. Prepare your introduction. First impression, as you know, goes a long mile. People will remember you. So learn how to pitch yourself. There's a very small exercise that you can do. If you need help with that, please reach out and I can help you into pitching yourself. Make them remember, make them curious from the first things that you're telling them. Make it clear, make it short, and close with the interest on this specific opportunity. Learn how to present a project, the features that you build, like what were the struggles, what technologies did you use, and this, like, you should be able to kind of quickly deliver a message on how you build the project. Presenting past experience. For people transitioning into tech, they're coming usually from a different industry with different skills. Learn how to map that out into how is this past skills and past experience is going to help you in this new role, in this new job, in this tech world. And there's always a common ground, right? There's always things that you can use. You just have to kind of go deep into it, understand, and mapping it out and make it straightforward for the person in front of you. You don't want them to make the connection. You want to make the connections for them. Be ready to talk about your weaknesses, your strengths, and the context in which these apply. And very important, prepare your questions. Always have questions ready for the person you are talking to. A question can say more about you than an answer, right? It can show curiosity, interest, preparation, and most important, knowledge, right? So do these things, and you'll see how the questions that I mentioned before, they're gonna be answered. There's the second part, becoming a developer and going through an interview process. There's always going to be some sort of a coding interview, right? So even if it's a whiteboard challenge, or if it's a hackerang exercise, or if it's a project that you have to do on the side, there's always some sort of coding, because this is what in the end you're hired to do as a developer. So when it comes to coding, I want to mention here that be prepared, right? Be prepared to show code, be prepared to code in front of people, practice that up front, be prepared for pairing, learn how to properly make use of people's knowledge in the pairing, because you can collaborate. There's so many tricks in there, and you can prepare for that. Now, a trick that I see people here struggling is that they put themselves in very uncomfortable position when it comes to coding interviews. You can choose based on what you feel comfortable with, the types of interviews you want to be in. For example, if you really don't like to be under pressure and solving these algorithms, 10 minutes things, you can choose the interviews that are allowing you to build a project, for example, that you can then show your code and go to a certain features. So ask, when you are part of an interview process, ask the recruiter, what is the process? What should I expect? What are the different steps? And you can choose if it's worth put your effort into, or you might choose an interview process that you are more comfortable with and you have a higher chance on getting the job, right? So I just want to tell you that you always have options, and please ask for information and use that in your advantage. And last practice. So you have all of these tools, you have your network, you start getting into the interviews. It's about starting to apply this, having conversation, having interviews with people over and over again. You get better by doing, right? There's no question about that. And in the end, what practice is going to get you? You might not get your first job in tech from the first interview you are doing, but the more you practice, the more confident you will become in your coding skills, in your interviewing skills, in the story you're presenting. Because if you convince yourself that you deserve the job and you can get the job, then convincing the other people is just easy. So as a developer, and again, we're focusing here on the tech part, it's very important, as in anything, to keep on growing. So while you're doing this process of interviewing, of finding going through all of these steps, which I know they are a lot and they are exhausting, and there's a lot of skill to be developing, which is not coding. You have to keep on growing, and as a developer, you have to keep on coding, right? More than anything, it's coding. So every day, doing a little bit of coding and keep on developing your, even if it's like a new project or if it's a new technical, a programming language or a new problem you're solving, like be prepared to do that daily. And how do you know you're growing, basically? Well, as you're going to go through this process and you're going to have conversation, the way to know you are growing is because your story will change. In every conversation, where you are, what you're working on should change constantly on where, like, what course have you done, what you're currently working on, what are your interests. So this should keep on changing, as this is how you know you're growing, right, over the months. And so keep an eye on that and put effort into making sure you are doing this process. And last but not least, I just want to say that I know it's hard, right? This is not easy, and these are a lot of things, and it's not comfortable to put yourself out there and to do the networking. And I believe that looking for a job is a full-time job. Doing all of these things, besides the coding, besides the things that you have to do in regards to the normal process, keeping yourself motivated, it's not easy. That's why I'm telling you, but it works, right? Like, if you keep consistent on doing these things, it gets easier. The same as anything, right? Imagine, think about the first day you started coding. It's awkward, it's not clear, not sure what we're doing. The same is with the interview process, and the same is with networking. The more you do it, the better you get at it. But it's important to set your expectation clear, and where you put your effort and your focus, that's where you're gonna get your results from. So again, it's not easy, and it requires a lot of time and effort. And the more you put it in the short term, the faster you're gonna get that job. That's it, what I had to present, and I would love to answer any questions and things to make it more specific.
Yeah, sure. I propose you to stop sharing your screen. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I stopped.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your talk and for your tips. I found them really interesting, and I'm sure the public as well. We have some questions, and I will address them to you. First one: do you think that CVs could disappear in the future of hiring processes within the IT industry?
I sure hope so. So yes, I do believe we, in the way we're moving today, sorry, in the process, I do believe we might get to a point where CVs will completely disappear. I think it's just a matter of companies picking up the process faster and faster, because again, CVs requires time, right, to send them, to review them. It's the same information duplicated that you have online that you're saying. It's just a paper with a format that even today it keeps on changing. So yes, I do believe it's gonna disappear at some point. I don't think it's gonna happen instantly, and I still believe at some point, like, each company has their own transition process, so some might take longer than others to adapt.
Okay, great. I will go for another question. Do you think that the duration of hiring processes could affect emotionally to candidates?
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, That's what I was mentioning before, like in my presentation, that people tend in this day to day to make decision based on how quick it is for them to get a job, right? Like even if it's not the best deal or their best environment, they will make the deal just to not have to put themselves through the process. There's nothing worse than pain that you don't know when it ends, right? Like if you're just in this dreading process for talking with so many people, not knowing what is the next step, definitely it has an impact on people's motivation and people curiosity and in their decision making, right? So that is why it's even more important for this process to be made shorter from the company's perspective and from the candidate perspective.
Okay, thanks. Another question coming from the public. What advice would you give to a 40 years old that is starting to learn programming to reinvent herself and find a job in the tech industry?
I would just say I'm so proud of you. I mean, I work with women, transgender, and non-binary people transitioning into tech in different ages every day, right? At different points in their lives. So I would just please ask you to keep at it. It can be done, and it's done every single day. The most important thing is, I think, as you are transitioning, and I'm sure you're coming from a background, right? Like you've been doing something else before. Please, this is not a start. This is a continuing journey. Try to understand how everything that you've been putting your effort in until now can help you in this tech role and make that visible for people. It's not like you're starting from scratch. This is very important. Everything you learn and develop can be applied and can be used in your role as a developer. So keep at it, keep on coding, and try put work into understanding how to make your past skills visible and useful in your new role.
Thanks, great. I think it's a good advice. According to you, which is the future of the tech industry?
Okay, that's a big one. I don't think I've thought so long. The future of the tech industry. Well, for me, what I hope for is that I don't know. I actually hope for the tech industry to keep on changing and surprising us faster and faster in regards to the changes we're making, in regards to the things we're building. I don't think we can say what's gonna happen, but it's definitely gonna be bigger and bigger and faster and faster.
Okay, great. I hope so. Which soft skills you consider a developer should have?
Well, the main and more important one, and a lot of things coming here, is communication. The ability to talk about your work and your code and not just doing it, it's it's the thing that is gonna help you grow as a developer, right? So doing the thing in your like space and like feeling comfortable and no one bothering you, that's the first step. The more you grow as a developer, being able to talk to people around you, to teach other people about what you're doing and what you're building, that's the main, in my opinion, the soft skills. And there's a lot of course, different things that come into play there. But it's about the ability to talk about the things you're doing, the problems you're solving, and how are you solving them, so you can bring people together. Because in the end of the day, from my side, growing as in your career, even as a developer, it's about impact. And impact means people, right? So that's your ability to talk to those people and make it clear on what you're building and what you're solving. It's where you should put your efforts in regards to soft skills.
Okay, great. Another question. Which is the best strategy for applying to jobs? Only through LinkedIn and career sites? What else?
So I believe that LinkedIn is the place to kind of start doing your research and find the companies and find the job description. Now, in regards to application, just talking to people, it's the strategy. So you see someone posting a job in the Slack channel, reach out to them. Hey, I'm interested. Hey, do you have other roles, even if it's not this one that you are that you have open? So reaching out to people in any, even in here, right? Like you have these amazing speakers in this conference. You have people from Nube, which are putting all of these efforts in building this. Reach out to them, make your interest visible, right? That's the applying of job. today in the tech industry. It's reaching out to people and telling them what you are interested in, seeing their needs, and seeing how you can put that together.
Okay. Another question. Do you think that motivational letters, which are commonly asked when you apply for a job, are useful to really show your motivation and interest on the position?
This is a tricky topic. Like, I guess you were referring to the cover letters, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the classic naming of it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I believe that any chance you have to prove your value and your interest, you should use it. And I think there's nothing bad about having these extra steps. But I do understand that the way it is today is just a formality more than anything. It's just something that is left over from an old process that we are not using properly. Because you have usually it has a very strict format and you don't even know if people are gonna read it. So I understand why it's like, why am I doing this? If it's used for the intention that it was put there, which is you delivering your interest and showing consistencies in your profile, in your conversation, and people read it and make a decision based on that, then yes, I believe it's useful. But only in that case. If not, we should, I mean, in the world today, if you can have a conversation instead of writing stuff,
Yeah.
even better, right? So
Yeah.
you can actually tell people, hey, can we jump in a call? And I can tell you all about it instead of me doing all of these processes. You'll be surprised how many times people would say yes.
Okay, good advice. What should my LinkedIn profile include in order to become more attractive to companies?
So first thing that your LinkedIn profile should include, and any profile and everything you're filling in, because now there are all of these different platforms where you have to make your profile, it's your intention. So how do you show your intention? Quick things. Headline. You should put the role that you are applying for. If you are coding in the day to day, you are not an inspiring developer. You are a developer. So remove junior, remove aspiring, just leave the role that you currently are. The difference, I see this a lot, like the difference that makes you from a developer, like becoming a developer, it's not money. Being paid for it doesn't make you the developer. You doing it, you already coding it, you already are a developer. Getting a job or making project, that's how you use your skills, right? So first thing, put it in your headline, make it clear the role: front-end developer, data scientist, data analyst, whatever it is. Remove everything else in regards to the level, in regards to the aspiration, in regards to skill, just put the role. Second, make sure your story is consistent. Update your skills with the current skills that you're having, review your past experience, and rewrite it in a way that it's useful for the current role you are interested in. And third, make your story. So in that about section, make your story visible. Where you started, what you're interested in, and where you're coming from. So these are the key parts. It's about, when I look at your profile, it needs to be very easy for me to understand. Why should I have a conversation with you, and at what point in your development as a developer you are?
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that. What do you think is more important? Connections, a good CV or LinkedIn, or a good portfolio?
I would say they are all important, but in different levels.
Okay.
So I believe you cannot, like, in order to get the job, you need all of them, but at different stages, right? So for example, if you have conversation with people, again, they will need a reference before they even talk to you. They need a place to go to see you, to see your interest. So even if that's your CV because you send it to them, or if your LinkedIn profile, which they can easily like Google it, um, that's the first part, like having those two together. So reaching out to people once you have your profile ready and they expose your current interest. Now, in regards to the portfolio, again, it's about making your work visible and making it easy for them to make a decision. Sometimes, because people are able to see your work, they might not even get you to a coding interviews. They can see it there. They might ask you about it. How did you solve this problem? Can we go through this code? I think this is very interesting. So I believe a portfolio as a coder, like as a developer, takes you a long mile. I don't think it's required, to get the job, because like I said, a lot of companies, they will do their own coding processes, and they will, like, you will have the chance to prove your skills. And I don't think it's required for you to start applying for jobs and putting yourself out there as your profile and your LinkedIn profile and your CV. But it definitely can help you get the job faster and have better conversation. And again, it's about building that self-confidence, making your work visible. And portfolio, it's anything. Even you posting solutions you found on Twitter or like on LinkedIn or whatever, that's portfolio. That's you proving your work. It doesn't necessarily need to be a website somewhere with the information, with the things that you built.
Yeah, great, thanks. Another question, any advice to stay confident during job interviews?
Yes. So the confidence, I mean, you build it by practicing. So the more you do and the things that you focus on. So there are usually, my process of building confidence with people is we look at the things you're afraid of and we tackle them. There's always a question you're afraid of. You're afraid of a topic or a gap in your or your coding skills. That's the part you tackle, and that's the part you work on and you get better at, and you increase that confidence. That's one. Second, keep track of your achievements. Oh, I solved this problem. Oh, write it down. Like I used to tell people to have this jar of post-its. Like every time you make an accomplishment or you learn something or you get an interview or a call, put it there. It goes such a long mile when you're like feeling down to go through that and see how far you've gone. Make it visible and easy for you. Your future self is gonna thank you. And third, get reinforcement from the people around you. Talk with friends, pair with someone to solve a problem, so you kind of get confidence and see, oh, I can do that, and track your progress. Like, for example, one thing that I do with people is think about 1 month ago. You didn't know what an API was, and now you can build it. Like that, there's nothing to kickstart your confidence in yourself than that. That's on the coding side. And of course, you can do the same in all the other areas. And by the way, the more you talk about yourself, the more confident you get, because you build self-awareness and you're aware of what you achieved and how hard you work for it. And that's how you build it, basically.
Okay, great. Another question, in a normal process for a developer job opportunity, how many interviews do company make you pass?
Well, here is the part where it depends. It depends on in the market. It depends on the country. It depends on the company. So it really depends. Like I said, it goes as quick as from you having a call with the CEO or the CTO of a startup, and that's it, and they just make a decision on the spot, to having, I know, as long as 8 or 10 interviews in the process, like taking like 2 months. So it really depends. But my point that I want to say here is that you can choose. When you're applying for a company, you can ask them, what is your process? And you can make a decision if you're willing to go through that or not, right? So again, it depends. There's no direct answer, but there are all of these options, and you can choose which one you want to be part of.
Okay, and I think that we will address now the last question. After applying to a job offer, having a good LinkedIn profile and a wide portfolio, what process would you follow to have more chance to get the job?
After applying and having your profile, well, it's about this, about preparing yourself and being able to deliver messages without even thinking about it. So learning how to tell stories about your strengths and weaknesses. Being able, that elevator pitch that I tell you, that you should wake up in the middle of the night and you should be able to throw it at me with no thinking. That's what it means. You have it, right? So that's where I would take it to the next level. Prepare yourself. So the interview is just a call you would have with anyone, is not a whole thing. That's when you know you own it. And that's where you put the effort. And again, this is something you do once. For elevator pitch, you do it once and you have it. It keeps on changing, adapting a little bit here and there, but you have it. You can easily deliver, and you remove so much pressure for yourself. And last, I'm just going to throw this in there. If there's something you're afraid of, that they will ask about this or they will care about this, answer the question. Put it on paper and start working on it. Anything, and trust me, I work with so many cases, anything can be put in a positive light and can work in your favor. Anything.
Okay, Anemari, thank you very much for your talk. Thank you very much for answer all these questions. It has been a pleasure to having you here today. Thanks for your time, for your work, and for your commitment. I hope to see you soon. And once again, thank you very much for your participation in the International FemHack.
Thank you again. And if anyone has more questions, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. Have a great day, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. And for the public, we will be back in